Hey everybody, and hopefully this finds you well, and wherever you're watching this, if you're still an essential worker even on the weekends, hopefully this finds you well. And this is a crazy time that we're all living in, and I wanted to take just a quick moment out of my time. I'm actually working on a few final property plans for some folks, and wanted to thank everybody. The last podcast had an outpouring of responses to those of you interested in taking part in the TAC plan, basically be some people that I demo it to. I do have a plethora of options, so I apologize if you're watching this and you're like, what's going on, and you're interested. I'm not accepting any more people. And there's a couple more people I'm going to notify today yet that I will probably be sending that to them as soon as it gets done. But the Habitat Plan podcast series has been one of the most popular, and I think it makes sense because every single one of you out there that follow Small Acre Hunting, most likely, except for the small majority that follow it just because you know me, you do so because, trying to get the most out of your real world situations and real people is something that I think a plethora of hunters, the majority of hunters out there can relate to. We don't have thousands of dollars of equipment. We don't have the no-till drill options. We have to rely upon local agencies that may loan theirs out, or a friend who has one. We don't have large equipment, or maybe we have an old tractor like Old Blue, like me and Pops have. Maybe you're like we were for years until about 2016. We did everything with a lawnmower, a really old ATV with cinder block disc that was only about 2.5 feet wide. Garden tillers, walk behind garden tillers, whatever it took, rakes. I've planted a food plot in about every variety and every methodology you could imagine, most of the time incorporating a lot of sweat as the primary resource that makes it and fuels it. But the attack plan prompted a few discussions, and I figured I'd just go to Facebook really quick and then get back to work. There was a great question submitted, and I don't remember the name offhand, but whoever it was, and I'm sure you're watching, thank you, because I think it's something that a lot of people are wondering as well. So the question basically pertained to the concept of why would I want to develop a product or a service that I could provide people that would be so much less money than them hiring me to do a digital consult. There's been a plethora of opinions, and there's a plethora of people that I respect that are on both sides of whether or not a digital consult is appropriate, of value. I have been on both ends of things. In the past, I've had a few people draw up digital consults and talk about things with me, and they've never walked the property. And I've garnered a lot of valuable information from them. Having done digital consults and continuing to do digital consults, I will always believe boots on the ground is always a better option. And I always stress this to every single person. When you're doing a digital consult, you have to understand the restrictions and the limitations that just by nature is going to cause that consult to go through. Not being able to see the subtle topography changes, the type of tree changes, the soil conditions, how water sheds on the property and collects on certain spots. You can guess a lot of those things from topography, and most of us have gotten really good at reading aerial maps, topography maps, and being able to assume, or we've seen enough properties that we can pretty much garner what we would think is going to happen, but that's not always what plays out. And understanding and knowing the property intimately with boots on the ground and walking it, it is easier for me to draw up a plan for somebody that I've visited their property than it is digitally, because digitally you don't have all the answers, and you just gotta kind of create it as you go and make a guess best and go with it. And that is a very uncomfortable thing. I think it should be. I think there are a lot of consultants out there that won't even do digital consults, and I think that's the primary reason. There's a very uncomfortable part of it to where you are spending a lot of time and energy and hours developing a plan, and if you have a moral compass about you, it's very taxing on you to try to assume and hope you got it right. And I think most people understand that go into a digital consult. There is a strong limitation to it. But that's kind of why I wanted to develop an attack plan. I wanted something that, and the reason why I do digital consults is there's a lot of people out there that cannot afford an on-site consult. An on-site consult from a competent person is going to probably at minimum run you $500 unless they're very local to you, you have a past history with them, they're doing a discount, you're on their way. But like their base rates for anybody in the consulting industry that is competent and has a history of putting good bucks down. I mean, I don't even have the history that a lot of people do. Yes, I've killed some amazing bucks and you guys have seen those, and I've had success, but even I don't have the historical ability with evidence like some of these people. And I mean, you get into 4 digits very quickly before the decimal point, and if you're anything like me, that's a lot of other stuff. I've never spent a little bit of honesty in a moment here. This will kind of exhibit how real world I am and just real person. I've never spent over $500 on a bare bones bow. Huge bow hunter, huge archery guy, and I have never done that. My first 2 bows were hand-me-downs or heavily used bows. The first one was a Browning, and then I had a High Country that I think my pops had, is how we got it. And I got it. It was a old bow. And then from there, I saved up my money, and it took me a while, but I saved up my money. It may not seem like much, but I bought a Missions Venture. Bare bones bow back then from Mission, I don't know, I think was in the $250 to $350 range. I may have gotten the ready to shoot package. If I did, it probably upped it to $80 or so. And then the bow that I'm shooting right now is an Elite 32. It was used by a gentleman that I knew from forums, social media. He posted that he had it for sale. I bought it, and I love that bow. Absolutely love that bow. It shoots amazing for me. I bought, I think the setup on it between my rest and my sight actually cost the same amount as that bow used from that gentleman. But so having to fork over $500 to $1,000 on a console is something that even I'm uncomfortable with. And I believe in these people 100%. I point people to them because I don't have the time. This isn't something that I can do for a living, and my turnaround time is terrible just because of everything going on, especially this year. I try to usually have a much better turnaround time, but being able to schedule all these things don't. So I actually recommend these people to folks that want boots on the ground consulting, and I even understand the taxing strain that can have on a budget. The good thing is the people that I recommend, and I will never do that publicly because people construe that as, oh, you don't like so-and-so because you don't recommend them. No, but in private, I will always, if somebody reaches out to me for a consult, I will recommend some folks. And I do it to folks that I truly believe have the character and are men that I believe have the integrity that what they charge, they truly are worth. And they really will deliver upon that, and they will continue to deliver upon that if you need assistance moving forward. But getting back on track, because I kind of got off on a little bit of a side tangent, although it all circles together. I wanted to develop something that a lot of people can purchase and learn from and glean from. And one of the normal avenues that a lot of consultants do that in is written word. They put out a book. They do a hardback or softcover book, digital copy, things of that nature. I'm not a huge writer. I do enjoy writing. Writing's actually how Small Acre Hunting started, with a blog, but I don't find that I can sculpt and share my ideas the same way without illustrating it. I'm a very visual type learner, and I enjoy speaking much more than I do writing. And that's why my attack plan will be more of a digital DVD with accompanying PDF documents. But I'm going to try to keep it in that same price range. So while you may purchase a book from somebody else, Small Acre Hunting, you're going to be able to purchase a DVD format type learning session where this is going to be like an in-depth consult, but on a general term. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, and I'm going to share my views and concepts and things that we've done on various properties over the years in a hopes to encourage you and get to the point where any single hunter can purchase this just like a book and glean information from it, possibly get enough encouragement, enough direction to where you can feel confident to start tackling your own manipulations of habitat and feel you're coming at it or going about it in the right way, without having to fork over hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. Not to say that's not worth it. But I think the hunting industry has fallen victim to pricing ourselves out of the normal persons, or you have to sacrifice your family budget or your family time and energy, or get a second job, or choose this over something else. And it's a troubling thing to me. I think, yes, to be I commit a lot of time and energy and money to this, but I don't think you necessarily should have to force somebody to spend thousands of dollars on a brand new bow when they don't need to. And I like to kind of highlight that when people, in my opinion, are wasting their money. And the hunting industry has geared so much towards advertising and sponsorships, and you don't just get honest opinions anymore from a lot of different people. There's typically a motive or a tactic behind it. It's a business, and there's nothing wrong with a business. I fully support any business in the hunting industry, any private small business, as long as they stay ethical and utmost integrity, and their owners don't get busted for poaching and things like that. But it's not wrong to make business decisions, but I just want opinions from people. I want their honest feedback, not bought and sold for by various companies, not bought and sold for via sponsorships, to where every time you hear them speak, it's accompanied by a infomercial or a commercial, either spoken or visual, for somebody, for something. And I think it waters down their opinion. I think it waters down what they have to say, and that's sad, because there's a lot of really good people out there putting forth great content, and it's sadly influenced because it's a business. And I refuse to do that. So the attack plan, in essence, I'm hoping will deliver good quality content for everybody that wants more for their property but can't afford it, or they don't see the value in spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on a consult when they already understand and know and recognize the names like Craig Harper, Steve Damaris, the wildlife biologists that we hear about all the time. They've purchased all the books from Jeff Sturgis. They've watched all the Jake Ellinger videos. They've everything Don Higgins puts out, they absorb. You guys know the concepts and things like that, and you're just looking for more information and more knowledge to absorb. You're not necessarily needing a huge consult. Now, if you're new to the industry, new to hunting, new to habitat, you're starting from scratch, but you really want to delve in full bore, yes, that's when maybe hiring a consult, even digitally. Because the one benefit that a digital consult will have over the attack plan is it will be specifically for your property. But even I'm going to start pulling back and focusing more on attack plan development than digital consults, just because digital consults are, as I explained earlier, they're very difficult to do and feel like you're producing a high quality product for that person, seeing as how you haven't seen it firsthand. Oftentimes, some of the best digital consults I think I've put together is because people take the time to send me photos, tour videos, drone footage, things of that nature. But even then, there's a lot that you miss not being on the property. So I think it was a great question. I know I spoke for a really long time, but I wanted to share because there's been an outpouring of desiring to know more about the attack plan, desire to be part of the demoing of it, to give me feedback on it, and essence like that. But I just want to thank everybody for listening to the Habitat Plan series, listening to Small Eagle Hunting, listening to me ramble a little bit here and share my thoughts and explanation as to why it exists. Had a few other questions, and hopefully I'll delve into those a little bit more. I know many of you were saying you wish I would delve deeper into the Habitat Plan as far as exact locations, how to sculpt corridors leading in and out of bedding areas. There's only so much you can do on a podcast without a visual. And there's also some stuff that I'm going to withhold just a little bit, and we'll dabble on here and there, and we'll shove it in the attack plan. But I will go as in-depth and thorough as I possibly can on the podcast. Everything has a limitation when it comes to media, and audio version of everything. You don't have the visual. You can't share video or anything like that with it. But hopefully, if you haven't listened to part 3 where I start breaking down what to do with the timber and everything like that and cover, it might do you well to have a scratch pad handy if you're listening to it in an essence where you can just real quick scribble out the property that I describe, the neighboring properties and what I described there. It really kind of helps formulate it in your head a little bit more if you're a visual person like me. For those of you that are auditory learners, you probably had no problem at all picturing it and understanding it. So I think that's all I got for you guys on this Saturday. I'm going to get back to work and hopefully get a few more of these things done, and probably work on the attack plan a little bit more and begin to sculpt and put some flesh on those bones, if you will. So God bless, guys. Good luck out there. If you're out there working on the habitat, social distancing in the best way, my best luck to you. I have a bunch of dogwood, red osier dogwood cuttings that just came. They're sitting in my garage in a bucket of water, and I got to get those things out. Probably do that tomorrow because the snow is still defrosting here because, lovely April weather in Indiana. We go from 65 to snow the very next day, it seems. So I'll get out and do that and start prepping some fields for some spring buckwheat plantings, and probably some cereal rye and peas will be mixed in there as well, but not focusing so much on summer food, and we'll discuss that and why I'm doing that kind of in the future. So God bless everybody, and if you haven't heard, yes, Bertier does live.